What's up, guys? Jason up New Age Revolution down here in the cave for the first video in about 4 days. Yeah. Why has it been the first video in 4 days? Well, yeah, I don't know. We got, we got stuff going on. So COVID hit the house again 3 weeks ago. The children's mother got it, and then Liam got it. Finley and I did not get it. Liam stayed sick for a while. He just started feeling better, and when he's sick, I think about 70% of his feeling crappy was COVID, and 30% of it was laziness and knowing that he could, get out of school and do all that if he handed up. Regardless of that, whenever my kids get sick, especially Liam is sick all the time. Liam gets sick all the time, and any common cold for him turns into like a fever and sometimes throwing up, and he doesn't eat, and he is already probably underweight, and so when he doesn't eat, I get really nervous for him. So the long story short is I have not been in a good headspace because my kid is sick. If you have kids, then you understand. If you don't, you could probably figure it out. They get sick, and my motivation to do anything just goes away. So he's feeling better. He's like 95% back to his regular self. He's still congested and he still has a cough, which I guess sticks around sometimes with the COVID with the kids. But anyway, that's why I have been underground. That is one of my flaws. When stuff is happening, I shut down, right? I continue to work because I have to, but I don't know. I get in a weird headspace when stuff is just not going the way it usually goes, right? So anyway, he's all better, which means I'm back down here. And we're probably going to do a 2-a-day today. We're probably going to do this, and then we're probably going to do an after the game. We have not talked about the future of RC Pro-Am. I learned a few things about RC Pro-Am. We have not talked about that, and we have not started a new, hey, you want to play some Nintendo. So hopefully there'll be 2 videos up today, and we can get back into the swing of things. This is a video that people have suggested, and I am going to do it. XOX, Random Treasures. Now, I had somebody, and no fault of this person at all. I think they're new to the channel, but I have done probably 20 XOX videos, and in every video, during every video, at the end of every video, multiple times throughout a video, I say, look, if you want these beautiful customs, go to Etsy, hit up XOX by Random Treasures. And I had somebody probably new to the channel say, where on earth do I go to get these customs? And I was like, oh, well, I'll tell you again. Anyway, XOX, meeting Net. How did I meet Net? Somebody, a friend of the channel emailed me and said, check this out. And it was Random Treasures. It was XOX, it was Net. And I messaged her because she had made a Mr. Perfect. She'd made a Mr. Perfect figure, and I messaged her and said, I'm the biggest YouTube sensation there is, and the channel's all about LJNs, and so if you want to make $1 million, let's work together. And she could not say yes fast enough, obviously. She knew how popular I was, how famous I was, as they say, award-winning. And we became a thing. We are friends, and we have this wonderful relationship going. And I have brought you guys into the world of XOX as well. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a top 5, my top 5 favorite custom LJNs from Net and the crew at XOX. Kevin at Print Fury have just done wonderful things for our LJN world. I have told you many times prior to even doing this with Net, I said I don't like customs because they're never any good. They're you know, I think it takes a very special artist to make an actual figure look like a figure. I have seen bad figures. I have seen awful custom figures. You know, I have seen hillbilly Jims with yellow painted beards called the Moondogs. Yes, yes, you take a hillbilly Jim, you paint it, and you call that the Moondogs. And that's why I just was like, I don't want to do this custom thing. I don't want to do it. You know, you take a Tito Santana and you paint a goatee on it and you call it the Tonga Kid. Or you take a Jimmy Snuka and you paint a goatee on it and you call it the Tonga Kid. I can't do that. I can't get into that. So I was never into customs until Net came along. And we can't even call these customs. They're just new figures. They're just figures. You know, these are as good as they would be if, you know, somebody else was, you know, if a toy company was making them. So let's do the top 5. My personal favorite. Are they the best looking? Are they the most accurate? I don't know. They're just good for me, right? So let's go. Let's start off with number 5, the top 5 XOX customs. Now, the first one, look, this figure has got to be on everybody's custom want list. It's such a massive character. It's such a, the longevity of this character is ridiculous. I mean, this guy has been around longer than anybody playing a particular role, playing a particular character. Obviously Hogan and Flair and guys like that. But this guy came in with a very unique concept and continued it with a little break in the middle. In the middle, he kind of turned human again and rode a motorcycle. You know who I'm talking about. But then the dead man persona came back. And this started in 90. You know, this started way back when, you know, when we weren't rolling our eyes at this concept, but as we became a different people, as we became smart marks, I'm surprised that this dead guy character actually survived, actually lasted. Anyway, this is XOX second most recent figure. This is the Undertaker. And why do I love it so much? Well, I'll tell you. All of Net's figures are LJNs. All of them are LJNs, of course. But there's only been, well, I can't say that. There's been one figure that when I opened it, I immediately flew back in time and said, this is what the LJN Undertaker would have looked like. And I love it. You know, the head size to me is perfectly LJN. The cartoony look, I think it's a little bit more cartoony than she has ever done. And I absolutely think this is her most perfect figure. I don't know. But it's the most perfect, to me, the most perfect LJN-esque figure. This is what LJN would have done with The Undertaker, I think. All right, some people have said it needs a hat. Sure, okay, it needs a hat. Get a Billy Jack Haynes hat. And where's my Billy Jack Haynes? There it is, let's see. Get a Billy Jack Haynes hat. Oh, come on. Paint the little rim purple, and there you go. All right, it's a little small, So you might have to, like, I don't know. That works, right? Get yourself a Billy Jack Haynes. Unfortunately, if you need a Billy Jack Haynes hat, you're going to pay, $40 on eBay for it. And honestly, I don't think it fits. I think you'd have to open this up a little bit more or widen the head hole. But, there you are. Anyway, look. It's a perfect LJN figure. It is an LJN figure. So my number 5, is the Undertaker. Available at XOX by Random Treasures on Etsy. You got to go on Etsy. You got to type in XOX by Random Treasures. You got to get the figure. You get it painted or unpainted. I have never, ever, ever, ever advocated for unpainted figures. Unless you are an artist, unless you are a painter. I think the paint job can ruin the figure. If you're a bad painter like me, you're going to ruin the figure. This is perfect. This is done by a painter. So get it painted. Get it painted. Unless you're good. Unless you're a good painter, then bring it home and give yourself gray Undertaker gloves if you would like. Right? All right. Number 4. Now, tag teams are counting as one figure because it's my list. And that's how my math works. My next favorite LJN from Random Treasures, to me, is an absolutely perfect figure. There is nothing that could be done to this figure to make it any better. And one thing I'm noticing about the Undertaker, sorry to bring the Undertaker, it's harder. I think they're still trying to figure out the material that they're using, the pliability. This is a harder figure, and it's good. It's just a good figure. To me, this next one is a perfect figure. We were supposed to get this figure with our LJN lineup in 1989. We were probably supposed to get that big old beautiful tag team box set, which might not be true. Back in '89, we're getting black cards. We were not getting tag team sets. I think that they had pretty much said, we're cutting some costs here. We're not going to bulk up the tag team sets, the Hard Foundation, Strike Force, things like that. But we could have gotten a Powers of Pain 2-pack, but instead we got just the Warlord and the sad what could have beens of the Barbarian until XOX came along and made this. The Barbarian, Powers of Pain Barbarian, to me, a 100% perfect figure. This has the pose it's supposed to have. This has the beautiful molded on accessory of an armband or arm straps or whatever you want to call it. An absolutely fantastic paint job, absolutely fantastic beard, hair, everything. This is a 100% perfect figure. All right, we have the decals of Barbarian and Powers of Pain perfectly applied. A 100% perfect figure, the Barbarian, is on my top 5 XOX list. Available on Etsy at XOX by Random Treasures. Next up, this is just a personal thing for me. This is just a just a great, much wanted, much needed tag team. Brings me back to my second favorite figure line, Galoobs. Net sometime last year decided to remake Series 1 of Galoobs into larger LJN sizes. So we got the opportunity to get a Ric Flair LJN figure, which many of us as kids wanted, and some of us customizers use Greg Valentine for. So we have Galoob figures now, but these two, or this one, I requested that she paint this in NWA gear for me. And then, what do you know, a few figures later, we've got his tag team partner one of my favorite tag teams, if not my favorite tag teams, the Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, are on my top 5 XOX customs list. I love these figures. I love the fact that they could have been in the LJN Federation. I actually love Tully's pose, the chest hair that nobody ever seems to get right. Nobody ever seems to get chest hair right. Net kills it, right? And then the Arn is your Galoob Arn with a different paint pattern, which I requested. I said, give me NWA Arn, give me black trunks. You know, again, we have the perfect craftsmanship of the AA and the TB on the trunks. We've got the two-tone boots. I love these figures. So, you know, the Brainbusters, Four Horsemen, whoever you want to identify them as, they are such a fun part of this roster. I love these figures. And I love the fact that the tag team, how much fun I would have had to have, you know, Tully and Arn invade the WWF and have some great matches with the Bulldogs, right? How fun would that have been? Tully and Arn, top 5. All right, these two are personal favorites for me. These next figures. This figure, when I did, so there was, right before I met Net, I did a series of what if LJN existed in 84 or 83, what if they existed in 90, 91? And I added some figures that I think should have been made in 83, 84, 85, 86. So we named some figures. This figure just missed the LJN boom. And I think that he's such a needed character to represent the era right before the WWF took off. And you really don't hear a lot about this person's contributions. I mean, he was champion for, 6 years or so. And before fans started to smarten up a little bit in late 83, he was so over as a fan favorite and would just erupt crowds in Madison Square Garden. He was beloved until we started to turn on him a little bit and we got tired of the good guy routine. But we have him in LJN form, and we have him with the most beautiful accessory ever, the big green world title. On my top 5 list is Bob Backlund. All right, I love this figure. I love the fact that he even exists. That we got a Backlund. We got an 83 figure. I love it. What would I do with Bob Backlund if I was playing with figures today? I don't know. I might have disgruntled bad guy Bob Backlund. I don't know. But I love it. And if you get the green belt accessory for, I think, $10, you have an even better looking figure. Get 2 green belts. Get 3, because then you put one on Iron Sheik and you put one on Hogan, right? And we've just got some good looking figures. Bob Backlund comes with his towel, his good boy howdy do. That's what was happening. I remember the wrestling magazines would it's howdy doody. The fans just hated him. Opie from Andy Griffith. They just started to turn on Bob Backlund in 83, late 83, early 84. And the transition was on. The MTV era was upon us. Bob Backlund is LJN, thanks to Net and Print Fury. And I love it. I love it. It's just the series before the Series 1. It's Series 0. Bob Backlund is in Series 0. And I love it. The next ones were personal requests of mine. And I'm proud to say that they were made as a result of my clamoring for them. This would also go into Series 0. This is also more of a 83, early 84 representation. I love these figures so much. And I could just imagine, playing with these guys as a kid and having them actually be so active in the LJN Federation. And again, the fact that I asked for these to be made and they were made, and they're perfect. I absolutely love them, and they're just so great. The Wild Samoans. The Wild Samoans. Now, you wanna accessorize the Wild Samoans. Get a custom belt painted with red strap, and you've got kind of a look-alike for the early WWF tag team titles that the Samoans held. But I love these figures. The heads existed, so we have perfect heads, and their body choices are incredible. I have seen Samoans made out of junkyard dogs. Double Samoans made out of double junkyard dogs. Okay, it's not bad, but it's still a junkyard dog with a Samoan head on it. See, here's the problem. When you grow up with these figures so much, you can't turn a Greg Valentine into an Undertaker without me saying that's Greg Valentine painted like the Undertaker. You just can't. You have to make new bodies if you're going to make custom LJNs. And here we go. These are perfect Samoan bodies, perfect Samoan body types. Okay, bulky without being over the top bulky, perfect figures. Now, during my remodel, unfortunately, some hair rubbed off of old Afa's head, but that's just your basic black paint. I can touch him up. But the Samoans are absolutely my favorite XOX figures. Now, none of these were really in order, but I would say that the Samoans are my favorite. The Samoans are, to me, my personal favorite that Random Treasures has done. So there you are. Now, it was very hard to make this list because there are so many figures. We have a perfect Demolition Smash from Net. We have a Bad News Brown. We have a Zeus figure that, I don't care what era you're a fan of, it's just such a good figure. The Zeus figure is just great and could be a destructive bad guy in your LJN Federation. We've got the Bushwhackers that I think are pretty close to perfect as well. And then, of course, we have a Mr. Perfect figure. So great stuff. If you have not yet, I don't think that anybody watching this has not yet explored Random Treasures, but get on Etsy, hit up XOX by Random Treasures, and add these figures to your collection. If you don't want customs, if you don't want new characters, but you need that old Ultimate Warrior figure, you can get it from XOX. You can get a replica, a perfect replica, and get the figure for a fraction of the cost. So she does all the harder to find figures, the Big Boss Mans, the Haku, the Warlord, Sergeant Slaughter. I don't even know what Sergeant Slaughter's going for these days, right? I assume $600-700. Go get it from Net for a fraction of that, right? And have, complete your collection. But that's my top 5. I know that you guys, I would love to hear, some of the regulars who've purchased all of Net's figures. What are your top 5s? That's mine. Hopefully tonight we'll be doing an after the game with RC Pro-Am, and we go from there. That's all. Thanks for hanging out with me. Good night now.